Principal, Bursar, friends, good to be here again. My presentation is mostly aimed at students. And then, of course, the staff is nothing without students. This is dedicated to all students. They have made a wise choice to come to this college. Maybe a few didn't make it to engineering or medicine and came, but by and large, most of them have been wanting MCC, MCC, MCC. There's something in this college and its history that have attracted them. I'm glad, and we will continue to do that. It doesn't mean we are putting down any other college, any other students. I cannot talk about all the principals I wish. There were so many of them. But Dr. Mitra Augustine comes to my mind because he did things that made us stay, made my wife organize the archives. And at a later time when we needed a school, he was then the principal. He said, you are the warden in St. Thomas's Hall. You start one in the E block. If you are lucky, maybe it'll thrive. He did so much to organize. He loved the college from the student days, and then he loves it today. What matters in MCC is God, and the common undergraduate is what the very famous Professor Principal Boyd used to say. We used to have commemoration address, I know you still have, and we did not have Founders Day those days. Even when I was retiring, there were no Founders Day. In the commemoration address, we thought of our founders. And there was a question that Boyd asked, not on the commemoration day, but in preparation for that in the Anderson Hall services. We used to have services in the Anderson Hall Sunday evenings. He said, who is the founder of MCC? Miller said, John Anderson is the founder of MCC. Well, all that may be true, but he said, it's a matter of plain historical fact that Jesus Christ was our founder. He is our ultimate founder. None of the missionaries would have come to India but for the love of Jesus Christ. To spread His goodness through various means, and one of them was education. By saying that, we don't mean in this college we are trying to tell people you become a Christian or you follow our principles. No. Jesus once asked his disciples, oh, you say, they say this about me, they say this about me, but what do you think I am? Who do you say that I am? And Boyd said, that's the only question I will put to students. Christians, non-Christians, anybody. Who do you think Jesus is? That was enough to make people think and understand. John Anderson was the founder of the school, died quite early in 1855. He was the one who established the Church of Scotland mission in Madras area. It rather came late. There were so many other missions in South India and in India. This man was prodigiously a hard-working man. Comes there and take a little school in the Egmore area. Why do you have a school here where white people live, rich people live? Take them to Blacktown. So he goes to Blacktown, which became Georgetown then. Rented buildings, sweaty, crowded. And there he stays, teaches them in 1 year, 2 years, his students. Some of them hadn't had any school education. 15, 14, 16 years, The guys come there, they speak English like an Englishman or like a Scottish man. Dr. Gift Romani used to say, எப்படியா இப்படி பண்ணிருப்பாரு அவரு? நம்மால பண்ண முடியாது, இங்கிலீஷ் சொல்லி கொடுக்க முடியாது. These guys were reading, they were writing essays. Later on, he took one of his converts to England to speak to the General Assembly of Church of Scotland. Remarkable man. Very often we are told on Commemoration Day about one particular incident. I have my alternate interpretation about it. They say, as usual, 3 guys came dressed like upper caste, because Anderson was at that time only admitting upper caste. He said it openly. If I can, through English education, Bible education, make them Christians, the rest of the fellows from down below, that is what? BC, MBC, SC, ST, they had no place then. These people will become Christians. 3 fellows came, John Anderson admitted them, and then the school students found out, oh, they are low caste, send them out. He said no. Then we will leave. They left. He said, I won't send them out. I didn't ask them, they came for education, I gave them education. I often ask my friends, and maybe Dr. Joshua has the answer, what is the name of these 3 guys? What became of them? Anderson traveled within a short time. He goes to Kanchipuram in 1839, starts a school, still there, good school, Anderson School. He comes to Chengalpet, starts a school, takes over actually a school that somebody else had just started. And that is St. Columbus High School, it's still there. I was a student there. I couldn't speak English. So when I came here, that was the first time I could speak English in a sentence. Difficult. First 3 months don't know what's happening, what the professors are saying. And J.R. McPhail, he was a principal at that one time. He taught us moral instruction. Well, moral instruction itself was difficult to understand. And here I couldn't follow his accent. He was a Scottish man. If only I had known that someday I would be marrying a great-granddaughter of a missionary from Scotland, my wife, I would have probably listened more carefully. Even then, I don't think I would have understood what he was saying. He goes to Nellore, starts a school, was handed over to Baptist Mission, I think. Starts a school in Tiruvallur. Now it's called the Gaudi School. He said, I can't manage all of them, so later on people give it to the Methodist Mission School. Who would have been happy? Jyotira Phule, Savitribai Phule, E.V.R. Periyar, such other reformers who wanted women's education would have been so happy, because he said, I want education for women, girls, both in his school, in the Anderson School in Kanchipuram, in the Chengalpet School, everywhere he said, start a wing for girls. They started, and they're still there, multiplied girls' school in Kanchipuram. We still have the Alison Cassie School in Chengalpet. And the school that he started in city with his wife and others became the day school. Now he exists as a Northwick School. And out of the Northwick School came Jnanodaya Teacher Training School, Christopher Teacher Training School, WCC. They all came out of this Northwick School. There is Margaret Anderson, a lady who came from Switzerland. She came to work with the established Church of Scotland. The Scottish Church split into 2 after Anderson came here. And here is John Anderson and his 2 fellow missionaries in the Free Church, and this lady was sent to serve in the established Church of Scotland, but she goes and attends to the sermons of John Anderson and says, I go where my heart pleases. And they married. She stayed on after John Anderson died. She wouldn't want to go back to her country. Stayed with those who were baptized and lived and died here. Both of them lay buried in Chennai. Look at the girls. Muniata, Alamelu. Many such names there. First, they had difficult time getting the girls to come to school. Then they said, hey boys, can you bring your sister? We will have a separate place for them. Somebody will teach them. If they come to school, we will give money sometime. Some paisa, so they can go back. But many means they got the girls. On the 150th year celebration, we went to the old London Mission Cemetery in Tana Street in the city, and there is John Anderson's grave. And next to that, close by, is Margaret Anderson's grave. If you ever find time, please go. Opposite that is a pastor, and they will open it for you. On the 150th year of the John Anderson Church in the city, we again went there. After John Anderson died, the school was declining. Miller came in 1862, stayed almost 40-45 years, the most dominant figure that we know. Rich man, powerful theologian. I don't think anybody can contradict him, but if I was there with him, I would have contradicted him because there are things that I didn't agree with him, with his word. But this man was remarkable, and he built a college. There is a bronze statue in the Christian College High School. You can see it even now. Some people got together, his old students, and made a statue. He wouldn't want anything to do with the statue. They put the statue opposite that in the High Court compound. One of fellow students of William Miller from school days came. He said, I want to go and see your statue. He said, no, I won't come. Please come for my sake and walk with me. Just stand there even if you don't want. The Scottish people did not want. Have you ever seen a statue for John Anderson? Some professor once asked me, I want information, we want to build, people are willing to give money. I said, for God's sakes, Sayadinga. He was a Tamil professor. Sayadinga. The man will turn in his grave. The last thing that they wanted was a statue for them. When Barnes developed this campus so beautifully, some people said, we must have a statue for Barnes. Boyd said, the whole compound, the greenery, everything is a statue for Barnes. He would not, it will desecrate. Now we have one here. I don't know who, I know who made it. I don't know when they put it, who allowed them to put it. But opposite that, you will see a sundial. I hope the students and the teachers go see the sundial and determine the time, not what your cell phone shows, atomic clock. There was a professor in chemistry, may be true, may not be true. I believe one night he went and he wanted to see the time, so shined his torchlight to see the time. There are many such things. There was this Professor Kibble who built this, who was a great mathematician. He went in his car to city, stopped the car someplace, did the job, got into the train and got home, and his wife said, where is the car? Oh my God, where is the car? So he took the train back. Brilliant people, but absent-minded professors. Very calm. After Miller came, he decided, I will convert this small institution into a college, and he did small college classes. And then he wanted to make it this year really good, big college in South India that nobody else has. There were missions long before him. On the left side, you see Xavier came in 1842 in Goa. That's for trade, and then got hold of the land, but then spread Catholicism, which is greater in number today than Protestants. More than 300 years ago, on the right side, you will see Ziegenbach came to Tarangambadi, and there he established Protestant religion. And then all the different colors, I won't go into the detail, represents different missions. Methodist mission, LMS mission, Congregationals, Reformed Church in Vellore. Miller asked them, hey guys, come join, contribute some money. Let's build a college. This is what we call ecumenism. The word ecumenism means combination of all things that are separate. Economics means same root, eco. Economics means managing the money at home. Ecology means the same thing, managing the environment. Anyway, this was the beginning of an ecumenical college out of which UTC came. Again, WCC, many missionaries got together and did. There are wonderful pictures of the old time of the college, but I'll just show this one. On the left extreme is what is called as an evangelistic hall. And on the right is the Anderson Hall. And further right is the college in the early days. And of course, it became huge buildings. Miller was responsible for that. The evangelistic hall was slightly switched, and the Anderson Hall was pushed to that place at a later time by Miller. Anyway, that is the one after which this Anderson Hall is named. That is the only church in memory that these Scottish people established is in the city. The Church of Scotland's only church. The other churches, I will tell you about it later on. Miller did buildings, magazine, library, literary associations, scholarships, the first hostel in 1885 exclusively for Brahmin students, another hostel for Brahmin students, chiefly for the Vaishnavas, another for non-Brahmin Hindus, and then a separate one for Indian Christians. One man manages the college, builds all this, and that magazine, which was founded in 1883, still continues in our college today. In his days and in his later days, it wasn't just a college magazine. It was a literary journal. Everybody, anywhere in India, elsewhere, were writing about all kinds of things. You should take a look at it. There was a poet in America who was an anti-slavery man, James Russell Lowell. He hated slavery. And in one of his poems, he said, "They are slaves who dare not be in the right with two or three." And that's the slogan Miller took and put it in his college magazine. We still do that in the college magazine. They are slaves who dare not be in the right with two or three. The college developed into truly a global education. Staff of every mission came here. I have seen staff from Japan, America. Edward Dirks from America came and set up your student record office. His son became a professor in Columbia and then California University, and is one of the world authority on South Indian history, Chola history and the land history. And 10 or 12 of his students come into India to do PhD work. Students came from everywhere. Here I am, finished my first pre-university, 60-61, terribly ragged. They stole my pillow. They stole my toothpaste. And the next year, I'm a mighty senior. I rag. Of course, Dr. Wilson would have thrown me out with a TC. It wasn't nice to have ragging. Thank God we got rid of that. Anyway, when I come to BSc first year, my neighbor is from all the way from
British Guyana, South America.
Cannot speak anything but English. I learned English from him because I had to talk with him and to other people. So this is how a person who comes without an English knowledge learns. The great migration to Tambram happened after 100 years of staying in Blacktown, which was then called Georgetown. Great discussions. Where do we go? Why do we go? Alumni said, don't go. You are close to the Madras University. Stay here. If you go there, you will be like a baby. You won't be respected. But Hogg, the principals, gave all kinds of strong reasons why we should move. Gordon Matthew spoke with the government people and decided where to go, where to get the land. And when they moved here, Edward Barnes and his wife, Alice Mary Barnes, developed this campus into what it is today. They were Quakers, also called Friends. It was a Christian group, but very liberal. Loud nature, no wars. He even escaped from, during the World War II, they were going to put him to join the army. He wouldn't. This is the original plan that they decided. You can see the quadrangle in the front. To the right, you see St. Thomas's Hall. And behind it, you see a hall that was not built. And then another one, a hall that was not built. And in the center was supposed to be a chapel that was not built. That's where the principal's house here. Opposite that, you see Bishop Heber Hall, Salure Hall on the left forefront, and another hall in the back. They were going to build 6 halls, residential places. No money. World War II started. And so they stopped with 3. That's how it looked. No trees, no bushes. Way down behind you see the greenery. That is the old GST road, right next to the current GST road. That's the only place that were planted with trees by the government. And because of Barnes and Mrs. Barnes, who protected the campus and allowed the plants to come. They planted some, but they made sure native plants come. This is Velachery Road on the right. More or less a similar view. You see the halls. But now we have even more growth. The biodiversity in our campus is so rich. It's an envy for most other people. More than 650 plants, 120 birds, 90 butterflies. It is in this college that the Scrub Society was started. Student Sea Turtle Conservation Network 30 years ago. The butterfly wing pattern was studied in a computerized system by Dr. Gifts Romani's students. Computer studies of this kind of pattern recognition was not known then, except in a few institutions. I took this picture long ago. This is the female of the glowworm. At night time, it glows because of that white dots. These are bioluminescent gland. When I put it on a piece of paper and hold my camera still open for about 4 seconds, I can see and I can read. This is the light which comes from the sunlight. And the leaves capture them. And the snail eats them. And this guy eats the snails and gets their energy and converts it to light. If you go to Mamalabram, you will see people looking, the monkeys looking for lice, and another monkey, and the girl looking for lice, and a sister looking for things. In my class, in 1978, there was a girl who was always scratching her head. I said, what is the problem? You pain, sir. Okay, give me some in this alcohol bottle. So she gave some. In the US, took a photograph of how the louse looks like. The poor louse cannot live without human hair. That's the only habitat for it. Women students in the college. For 74 years, there were no women students. The schools had, but Miller's College, Miller for 44 years did not admit any girls. Even after that, there were no girls for 74 years. Only after the college moved here, 2 years after, 14 students. That too in courses that the WCC was not teaching. And where do you put the girls? You put them in the professor's house, in a house, Mrs. Kibble and a lady called Elizabeth Marmon. She was the first woman faculty in the college, and she was a botany faculty, which was my department. They were looking after them. Then they moved to Guindy temporarily for a while, and then they came to St. Thomas's Hall E Block when the Martin Hall was being built. I wish they came in 1960, because I was in the E Block in room number 14 then. But the girls came some years later. Then came Martin Hall, Margaret Hall, all the kind of things. Too threatening. Because if you leave, and if you would now choose students only on the basis of marks, the girls will top. In my MSc classes, I had difficulty finding 3 boys, compared to earlier days when we had only 3 girls. Again, people who are interested in women's education will rejoice. In the St. Thomas's Hall E Block, in 1985, we started a little school. I was a warden then, and the E Block was empty. Dr. Mitra Augustine gave permission with 11 students, 1 teacher, and 1 helper. We even had a thatched house there because there was no place to expand further. First inside, the 11 students can sit in a student's room or in the corridor, but then when the numbers increased, we were so popular. Anybody from the college, first admission, from principal to sweeper. And then to old boys, teachers, all people came. MCC Campus School was the first one to introduce inclusive education in the whole of Tambram and in the entire surrounding area. Inclusive education, not only people with some physical handicap, any religion, any level of the society, and no beating the children. The teachers whom we appointed said, "How can we control the students, sir, if we don't beat them?" I said, "You better get used to the idea. You cannot touch them." They did not touch them. Nothing happened. Later on, government also introduced rules. Students cannot be punished with your stick or pulling the ear and all. Here is Udaya Rekha, who joined. Today she is doing PhD in the Commerce Department in MCC. And what came of the campus school, we moved to a different location. Now the MCC Campus Matriculation School in great demand with a very large number of students. So one church, no big congregation, for the whole Church of Scotland which sent these people here. Church of Scotland gets worried. We sent you, we are giving you money, we are sending missionaries to teach in the school. Where is the church for us? Where is the congregation for us? You guys didn't do, so they sent another man, Adam Andrew. He went to Chengalpet. He preached for 8 years in the villages. And then the people said, "Okay, what you say about this man called Jesus seems true, but we haven't had education for 2,000 years. Will you give us education?" He said, "Yes, I will send you the teacher, but will you build a church? Will you build a school?" So the villagers said, "Yes, we will build a school," and that's a school. Which later on, when some of them became Christians, was also the church. That's another one in another village. My father studies in one such village school, the thatched place. I too lived until I came to the college in a thatched place when my father was 8th standard educated school teacher. Anybody can now come to this college. Everybody comes. We have 65% reservation for the non-Christians, thank God. And we get educated. It's up to you to make the best out of this college. MCC is a leader in many things, the art and architecture and inscription of the Pallava monuments. Gifts Romani, the great professor, started this. Lockwood and I joined. That's our first book in yellow color. More recent book in the blue color. And then in the Tamil department, Professor Balusamy joined. He had now given an interpretation for the Arjuna penance panel that bewilders me and Lockwood and say, my God, we were saying this is Gangadhara panel, this is not Arjuna panel, and Balu is giving an interpretation that seems to be right. In the 1960s, mathematics department published research papers in theoretical computer science, formal language and automata, picture language, Lindenmayer systems, cryptography, learning theory, and DNA computing. Gift said, the Western countries are so advanced in computer science, we are not going to catch up unless we start. And that's how we ran and initiated. The first computer to the college, I brought a Commodore. Dr. Gift Romani bought the next one in 1984, a small color genie, where the central processing unit is there, not a chip, but an external tape drive. That's how it was in the early days. Now you have it in your cell phone. People said, the computers are getting so clever. They're going to take over the human brain. Are computers a threat to man? Gift Romani wrote in an article, he often discussed this in staff study circle because who else can we ask? He was the only knowledgeable man. And then he wrote in the college magazine, man may turn primitive and fall down and worship a man-made, high-speed electronic computer if you don't watch out. And you will see this is what's happening. So numerous missionaries came and gave us a great legacy. Knowledge, infrastructure, traditions, mentorship models. Each one was a mentor. Indian teachers kept alive this torch. That is, now it's your turn for the students. You choose the field other than whatever subject you are studying. You choose a mentor. You will find teachers who are willing to be mentors when they find the interest in you. And you be a mentor. You have now knowledge that we did not have. We can only learn from a teacher or go to the Madras University library to get little information to write a paper. Now you can get your cell phone and you get the same information. Look at the emerging world around you. One of the greatest men that we know who gave us the Constitution, who had more than 50,000 personal books in his library, lost many of them on the way in the ship also from Colombia. People say he had read almost all these books, at least looked at it. He said, they cannot make history who forget history. We at MCC cannot make history if we forget the history. That's why we have the Founders' Day, the commemoration day. The teachers and the students cannot make history. They must make history. It's not just to say that Miller did this, Anderson did this, Gift Romani did this. People must be able to say, yes, there are people who are doing it today. We cannot write a distorted history. This has become so common in India today. History is distorted. You can have an alternate interpretation of history based on facts. Dr. Joshua's book is all facts of what he could gather. I can read it and I can read it differently, but I cannot alter it. I cannot distort it. I cannot say, no, this man Miller didn't do this. We did this 25,000 years ago. 25,000 years ago, and we weren't even. Things are changing. The little red dot is where my mother's mother was when a mutation occurred in her DNA, mitochondrial DNA. Our descendants moved to many places and moved to India. 60% of you sitting here have the same mutation that my original mother had, in which case you are all related to me. We have identical mutations. Why? Because we are all coming out of Africa then. People were there only in Africa one time, no human beings. And then they migrate out. 65,000 years ago, the people who came out of Africa settled in India. They're an ancient land with an ancient people. All these are now in a fingertip. A little tiny blood, a little bit of swab from your tongue is enough for a lab to do this. I did this when I was in the US quite some time ago. Now it's even easier and cheaper. They can tell you the whole history of your DNA now. I only did for my Y chromosome, male ancestry, and for my mother's ancestry. கணியன் பூங்குன்றனாருக்கு உலகெல்லாம் உறவினர். ஆப்பிரிக்காவில் அவர் வேர். கணியன் பூங்குன்றனார் கேள்விப்பட்டிருப்பீங்க, சங்கம் போயட். அவர் தான் அந்த பெரிய பாட்டை எழுதினவர். திருப்பி திருப்பி நம்ம தமிழ்நாட்டில் பேசுவோம், கவர்மெண்ட்டும் கோட் பண்ணோம், quite rightly so. And if you want to see my article on கணியன் பூங்குன்றனாருக்கு உலகெல்லாம் வேர், about the history of what DNA has done and changed. Because recently people have identified the DNA, extracted DNA from 4,600-year-old bones of the Harappan Valley civilization. What does it show? It looks like the DNA of our Irula people here. There were no Aryans at that time. More genetic proof now when people came. Migration after migration after migration is what made India. Where are the Dravidian languages? All these parts are different kinds of Dravidian languages. I tell my friends in Tamil department, but it doesn't have to be only Tamil department. History, computer science, ethnology, social work, any department you are interested in. Go study them. What's the use only talking about your Sangam poetry to all the kind of Padananni Kilkanakku, all the way? Go see how the Dravidian language is spoken by a tribe in the Gonds, the Oraon, the Koya. Small communities of people speaking these languages. Initially you cannot understand, but study. The missionaries studied them. If the missionary Caldwell had not studied all these languages and Sanskrit, and then known his knowledge of Latin and Greek and also, he would not have written that great book on the grammar, comparative grammar of Dravidian languages. When I went to one of these tribal groups, here is my friend. He looks just like me. They call him a tribal. He speaks Mundari language. Now you go back to Kiradi, our Pattanam in Ernakulam. We have a history that's stretching back. We thought only it stops at 300 BC. Now we can go to 600 BC, 800 BC. Astrobiology is a science. I've given a syllabus to some other colleges. At the moment, only Dharwad University and Amity University is following. It's a science, gravitational physiology, human and space biology, where physics, chemistry, everything must be there. People are looking for traces of chemistry elsewhere out of the solar system, which will tell them there is life there or there was life there. So many things to learn now for you, not only in computer science, artificial intelligence, nanotechnology, quantum physics. And we have great problems to solve, and you have to solve at Madras Christian College in whatever manner you can. Don't wait for some big organization to tell you how to take care of the earth, extinction or global warming, deforestation, pollution, loss of water bodies. When the people came to Tambaram from city to establish the college, they mapped all the water bodies. I didn't bring the picture to show you. Every water body around Tambaram was mapped by them. They made sure that the college is located in one of the highest peak, so water will not stagnate here and flow down. Yadam ure yavarum kelir, for us all are one, all are our kin. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, sir, for your inspiring words and for taking us with you in a wonderful journey into the past, into the life and legacy of our great Madras Christian College.